for a long while now, then that's interesting. Because I don't know you. Then you should know that one of my favorite games of all time is Ultrakill, a game that I'd argue is nothing short of a masterpiece, because no matter how hard I try, I, for the life of me, cannot think of a single bad thing to say about this game. Everything about this game, from the movement, the combat, the weapons, the visual, the music, I'd say are nothing short of perfection. I won't go too in depth on why that is here, because I already made a full video on Ultrakill 2 years ago, and it's okay if you don't know about it. I think that video is quite niche. So you may be wondering to yourself, why out of seemingly nowhere am I returning to the game after all this time? Well, firstly, my rent is due, and secondly, after that video came out, a lot of the comments either would tell me certain things like, now time to P-rank everything or to face off against this Minos Prime. And since I was and still am a little bitch boy, I decided to yield and just say, nah dude, ain't happening. But clearly, since we're here now, something must have changed in the time since that video, right? Well, you'd be correct. I became a father. My best buddy, the Beak, is why. Now, to give you a little bit of context on why that is, he really got into Ultrakill. So much so, he did what I thought would be impossible, and that was to P-rank every level. And since he's such a lovely friend, he held me at gunpoint and told me to do the same. And son of a bitch, I actually did. Somehow, I practically feel like I mastered Ultra Instinct and managed to P-rank every single stage in the prologue and in Act 1. But now you see, since I was able to do all of that, I couldn't just stop and smell the roses after achieving such a monumental accomplishment. No, there was one more challenge that I needed to face to actually prove myself worthy of all I achieved up until now. And his name echoed not only in that video's comment section, but in my mind for days and days after I finished it. Minos Prime. And let me tell you, everything I've done up until this battle was the equivalent of a tutorial in a Paw Patrol game, because Minos Prime is without question one of, if not the hardest boss fight I've ever faced in any video game I've ever played. But simultaneously, it's one of the greatest as well. But before we get into all of that, here's the intro. Subscribe. Expect more of this kind of shit in the future soon. Now, before we get to the fight itself, I feel that it's only appropriate to explain how we got here in the first place. Ultrakill is split up into different layers, and each of these layers are separated by different levels in each of them. Within these levels, you run, jump, shoot, and kill your way through hordes and hordes of different enemies, making use of all the weapons and skills you've gathered along the way. And the primary goal of each level is to get to this elevator, which leads you on to the next one. But before the stage fully ends, you'll be given your ranking. All seems pretty normal, right? Until you realize that in order to face Minos Prime, you need to get what this game calls a P rank in order to do so. Now, as we all know, normally in any video game that gives you a ranking, the highest score you're usually able to get is an S rank. And while you still get that in Ultrakill, the P rank is where it's all at. And in order to get said P rank, you need to get an S rank on every single major category that the game has to offer. That being your time, kills, and lastly, style. Time obviously being how fast you can haul ass through the entire stage, kills being something I really hope I don't need to explain, and style, which essentially just means that you need to try and get the highest score as possible at the end of each stage. Now, when it comes to the difficulty in each category, it's actually not as bad as I thought. When it comes to your time and style points, it wasn't really as bad as I thought it would be. Times to get the S rank throughout the stages are way more generous than I thought they'd be, unlike trying to platinum a fourth game in the Bandicoot franchise. And when it comes to S ranking your style points, it really made me appreciate the amount of depth that was put into the combat. Because attempting to keep your multiplier as high as possible, you're going to need to switch between weapons constantly, do some crazy shit with a few of the weapon skills like using your coin in combination with your railgun to create a lightning storm that bounces through enemies. It really makes you appreciate the amount of options you're given to dispatch enemies in the game, and it's just satisfying as hell to see the carnage unfold in front of your eyes and get a rank that the game amply names a shitstorm or the Ultrakill rank flash at the top right corner. It's so damn awesome. But now, You think you're hot shit after laying waste to Hell's denizens by P-ranking every single stage, huh? Well, fuckface, it's time to get humble because your real challenge is only just starting. So when you're ready to get your ass handed to you, you need to head over to Layer 3 Stage 1, go through the enemies that will be the last time you're ever gonna be able to live out a power fantasy, head through this secret door, watch the P-rank text unfold before your very eyes, revealing the elevator to the next level. And yippee, everyone! After we grab onto this torch over here, we descend down Snake Way from Dragon Ball Z. We place the torch on this podium, and finally we get to face
the cube.
Yes, before we can take out the big man himself, according to the lore, we need to take on the flesh prison in which he was imprisoned. I don't really care about the lore in a 90s themed boomer shooter, so I'll allow you all in the comments to write me an essay on what happened here because I don't think Gianni explained it all too well himself.
I spiked an infant into a field goal. Minos Prime begged me not to. He cried on his knees like a bitch.
So this is our first part of the Minos Prime fight, and if I'm completely honest with you here, I'm not really the biggest fan of this fight, because I'd argue it needs a tad bit more skill than the actual boss himself. Or it's just cause I suck, take your pick. The reason why I say this is that the main gimmick of this fight is that the prison spawns these little tiny eyes around him that joins him in attacking you. But the thing that primarily confused me was this tiny little green bar here at the bottom of the screen that constantly depletes as the fight goes on. And after every once in a while, the thing will summon back all his little gremlins to do the one thing I absolutely fucking love in a boss fight: heal him to full health, for fuck's sake! But it wasn't until Mr. Beaky Boy explained to me that the green bar at the bottom acts as the timer that counts down to when his next healing phase began, and I should rather focus on the eyes instead of the cube to ensure that he doesn't have as much of an opportunity to heal himself. And once I found that out, the fight turned more into a game of patience, so that I could try my damn hardest to eliminate the eyes first while trying to dodge all of their and the cube's attacks. And after defeating the cube, he appears.
Free at last. Oh, Gabriel, now dawns thy reckoning, and thy gore shall glisten before the temples of man. Creature of steel, my gratitude upon thee for my freedom. But the crimes thy kind have committed against humanity are not forgotten. And thy punishment is death.
If you thought you stepped into hell before, you haven't seen shit yet.
I prepare myself judgment, useless mind.
Do you hear that? Those quotes, they shall forever be burned into my subconscious for all eternity, because this motherfucker is one of, if not the biggest challenge I've ever had to face in my entirety of being a gamer on this planet. So where do we begin? Basically, if you have eyes, then you'll be able to tell that Minos Prime over here is probably the best depiction of an enemy's POV in a Sonic game. The dude literally moves so damn fast, there's a lot of times when I was fighting him that I thought I was in the middle of doing an attack, only to realize that I was back at the intro, ready to do the fight all over again. And all that gets even a little bit more disheartening when you attack the fucker with everything you got and notice that you barely even scratched the tip of his health bar. It goes without saying, this fight is tough, and I hope you're ready, because if you thought you needed to be 100% focused while you were busy P-ranking all the stages to get here, well then, my friend, I hope you got a Ritalin prescription, because you're really gonna need it here. So let's talk about the fight for a little bit. To my knowledge, Minos has a few attacks. From what I was able to tell, he has this move called Judgment, which is quite simple. He winds up, he breaks the sound barrier, And what's that? It seems like your ribcage has been reduced to dust. And you'll probably get your ass handed to you so many times by this one attack that you'll learn to love it by the end of it. He has this kick that he just amply calls die, and yeah, no, that checks out for sure. And this attack will make you love it for different reasons. Another move that he tends to do seems to be a combination attack where he attacks you like 3 times and finishes it off by bashing you over the head. Another one that he does is this crush attack, which if it actually connecting to you doesn't already hurt enough, the fucking move also shoots out a shockwave throughout the stage that you need to dodge as well. And the thing that will most likely catch you off guard the most is sometimes Minos will shoot out a skull that you're going to need to get very comfortable with parrying if you want to try and make things easier for yourself. And if all that wasn't bad enough, when you get Minos down to half health, he basically goes into a second phase where the speed of his attacks and frequency doubles. So, hope you're able to keep up with this shit only 2 times faster. You know, it's kinda comparable to a YouTube video where you guys choose to watch all our hard work at double the speed, giving us less watch time and then also giving us less ad revenue. So, I really hope you think about that the next time you choose to do so, because this might be what we end up doing to you. But regardless about me joking about the fight and bitching about how hard the thing is, this fight is not only one of the hardest fights I've ever done, but at the same time, I think that this fight is everything a boss fight in a game needs to be. So allow me to explain. Firstly, this is a no bullshit, no gimmick, proper one-on-one battle. No intermission where an ass ton of goons spawn, no pauses for any stupid reason, just pure adrenaline-fueled action. And son of a bitch, that just gets you so hyped to get your ass kicked even more. And all this even extends to the stage. Yes, it looks like you're fighting in the camera POV during a colonoscopy, but besides that, this is a large, open, rounded arena with nothing getting in the way of the fight, so all you need to focus on is your enemy and nothing else, which I think is just perfect. Also, to really help you out during this fight, Minos will also yell out what attacks he does, so that gives you more than enough time to actually anticipate and get ready to counterattack if possible. And besides just the design of the boss's attacks in the arena you fight him in, the difficulty of the fight makes you need to use every single little thing you've learned in the game. Because if you think you're gonna be like me and 2-Pump Chump, the guy with the green shotgun, well, I hope you like smashing your keyboard through a monitor like an average Valorant player, because that's as far as you're gonna get with this fight. Nah, you'll need to utilize each and every single one of your weapons, know what weapons to use when, and try at the very least to use some of the fancy tricks that this game has to offer. And even then, you'll still get your ass kicked time after time after time again. But unlike most boss fights with such a high difficulty, this is why I personally think that Minos Prime is probably one of the best boss fights. Because of the speed of Ultrakill, it actually takes close to 0 seconds to die and get back into the fight. And much like a person with a gambling addiction, this boss fight contains a one more try mentality that makes it more fun than frustrating. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't call bullshit a few times and was nearly to the point where I wanted to spark a match next to an oil keg, but once I got into that groove, I just saw every death as just part of the boss fight, and that I wasn't just restarting, I was continuing with the next phase. I was essentially subjected to Stockholm Syndrome is what I'm saying. But after many attempts, and 4.5 hours later, I finally managed to do it. And the level of accomplishment that I felt roared throughout the cosmos, and my neighbors probably hate me now. So I just want to end off this video by saying, thank you to everybody who pushed me to do this. Thank you to the Beak for not just helping me with all the P ranks and through the fight itself, but for also being my emotional support. I really need therapy. But yeah, I 100% recommend that you guys go out of your way and try to do this boss fight yourselves. I think you might just appreciate Ultrakill a ton more if you do so. But as I'm sure we all know, this journey is far from over yet. Because like Yoda once said, there is another.
A visitor. Indeed.
The eyes look. God's
God's plan.